you exhausted and burnt out because you just give too much? Do you show up for all the other people in your life, especially your mom, with whatever they need at the drop of a hat, and it's draining your energy? I'm here today to help walk you through the okayness of putting yourself first. Because as a recovered codependent daughter with my mom, what I have learned over the last over a decade is that the more I put myself first and go against that childhood programming that says, that's bad, that's selfish, you are not a good daughter if you do that, the more I actually had the energy to show up in the relationship with love, with compassion, and without resentment. When you're used to putting other people first, especially your mom, if you're a caretaker, if you're a people pleaser, if you're conflict avoidant, or even if you're codependent with your mom, what ends up happening is life feels really heavy. You get anxious about your next interaction. The thought of having to draw a boundary or saying no just feels like way too much. It's territory you don't even want to dip your toe into, let alone step into fully. But here's the thing. It's just not who you are right now. I remember when I was going through my mother wound stuff, I really felt stuck. I just didn't see a way out. I was in my mid to late 20s in this chunk of time. And I remember I was getting ready to finally go on the trip that I had wanted to go on for a long time. It was really important to me at that stage in my life. And I'm so glad that I made it happen. But I remember sitting on the floor of my home and feeling very stuck. Just feeling hopeless and helpless because it felt like there was no winning. No matter which route I took, if I was going to continue caretaking my mom, well, that just felt like the complete drain of my energy that I didn't want to keep doing. But if I stopped and I walked away and I did something different with my life, then I would feel horrible. I would just feel like a horrible person. The guilt would be too much. And I did not see a middle ground where I could still do some things for my mom and also still live my own life. We were so interwoven and so intertwined, not only in our day-to-day life, but emotionally and mentally. My thoughts were largely dedicated to, what does my mom need? What does my mom think? What do other people in the family think of me? What will they think of me if I do something different? And chasing that approval, that sense of I'm okay, that sense of I'm liked, I'm loved, I'm safe within this tribe, within this group of people, that was a huge sink of my time and my energy. And let's just be very honest in this moment. Your time, your life force energy is the most important resource that you have. Yes, we can do things in our life that will very hopefully increase our longevity, increase our energy on a daily level. But at the end of the day, the literal end of the day, when we're out of time, we're out of time. And there's no getting that back. I'm going to put it to you this way. If you have 100 energy tokens in a day, like dollars, okay? You have an energy account. If 20% of your daily energy, if 20% of your daily funds is automatically being diverted to these thoughts of what does my mom need? What is she thinking? How is she feeling? What do I need to do? How do I need to tiptoe around this situation? Do you have enough resources in the day to deal with the daily other things that come up? Your kids need help with their homework. Your health is needing a checkup. You want to make that yoga class, but you're trying to cram it into a really busy day. You just want to sit and watch some Netflix, whatever your thing is. You don't have the bandwidth for it that you would normally have if that 20% wasn't automatically going to that thought space, those considerations. Your thoughts, your mental habits are what create your experience of life. One of a few things. It's in the top categories. And your happiness is a skill. It's not just something that happens, although it does. And that's one of the beautiful things of life, is you don't have to work for everything. But there are parts of it you do have to work for. If you want that next level of joy infused in your body, infused in how you look at what's going on around you, and in how you solve legitimate problems that aren't just going to go away because now you're thinking more positively. So happiness is a skill. Happiness is a habit. Happiness doesn't always just happen. And when we're stuck in caretaker mode, when we're stuck in what does my mom want, what do other people want, when we're outwardly focused overly, of course, we need the outside world, we need our relationships. But when we're over-focused externally and we don't have enough of our innate knowledge, our innate wisdom, that connection with ourselves, that ownership of, I want to do this, it's important to me and I don't feel bad about it. Or, you know what, I do feel bad about this, but I know it's the right thing and I'm going to do it anyways. As you go through your healing journey, healing the mother wound, healing those parental wounds that everybody has to one degree or another. So you're not alone. You're just actually trying to deal with it, which is amazing. So good for you. I'm so happy for you. Even though I know it's really confusing sometimes and really hard and really draining, and you might feel like you don't know how you're going to get to the other end of it, how you're going to cross that river, get to the other side of that mountain. And boy, can it feel like a mountain sometimes. You're brave. You're doing great work. When you're so used to putting other people first or considering what other people are thinking instead of tuning into yourself, you kind of feel like you're not you sometimes. Because in many ways, you're not being you. You're not being yourself. You're being a version of a person that you believe the most important people in your life are going to like, they're going to connect with, and they're going to want to keep connecting with. And of course, on some level, we all do this. We all exchange ideas that we have for connection with others. And it's the degree to which we do that that dictates how happy we are and how fulfilling that relationship is and how healthy that relationship is. And if we are mutually doing these things. And sometimes it can be better that we do the thing that the other person wants. If someone likes jet skiing and we go do that someday and we realize, hey, I really like that. That was awesome. I would have never picked that myself, but because you like that, great, let's do it. Or you have the experience that confirms, I hate this. I never want to do it again. And now I know 100%, 1,000% for certain. So everybody has these wounds to heal to some degree or other. And because you are actually showing up and you're curious, you are experiencing the side effects of having it being unhealed. Because you're showing up, you are actually moving the needle. You're actually taking steps so that this is no longer a reality for you one day. And it really doesn't have to take decades and decades of your life. There are ways to get there faster and more efficiently. And truly, when you get to the point, and you will probably hit this multiple stages as you go through your healing experience, but when you get to the point where you're done, you're actually done with something, it's a shift that just happens. And I say it just happens, but it takes that accumulation. So when you think that you're going backwards, it could be that you're just feeling more. You're more in touch with reality, and it's a lot. Whereas normally you would shut down or ignore it or suppress it, pretend it's not happening or it didn't happen, and just kind of forge forward. But healing usually happens in this 2 steps forward, 1 step back approach. And sometimes it feels like you're going even further back. And that's normal. The brain likes to pick things that it's familiar with, even if that familiarity doesn't get you a desirable outcome. Because the main thing your body wants to do and your brain is operating to do is to keep you alive. So if it knows, hey, when I pick up the phone every time my mom calls, no matter how busy or tired I am, I'm going to survive. I'm going to maintain this connection. I'm going to feel okay enough. I'm going to feel like a good daughter. Whatever your brain has connected with that. Even if the better thing for you, the healthier thing for you would be to say, hey, right now, I really need to focus on regenerating, resting. I will call my mom tomorrow. I will call her next week, whatever. Whatever it is for you at this stage in your relationship. One of the things that was happening with me as I was healing my mother wound is I was moving out of that stuck feeling. Because I was starting to get more support, I got a mother wound coach. Part of my program with her was to be part of an online community group of other women going through similar things. And I was going to therapy. I had family that actually knew what I was going through, specifically my brother. I had counter support as well. I had family members who would call or put pressure or send texts, and ultimately I stopped communicating with them. It was the best thing for me to do at the time. And going through the healing really exposed who cares more about my wellness than their comfort with my decisions. Because it's not to say that people are always going to agree with what I do. And my choices are uncomfortable sometimes. But that they ultimately care more about, am I doing okay? Than, am I fitting into their narrative of how I'm supposed to be in the family? And it can end or change relationships in a way that is very challenging to go through. And this is part of what keeps you feeling stuck, feeling unhappy, feeling like you can't actually get out of the problem. And as someone who has had to make those sacrifices, which now they don't feel like sacrifices, to be honest. They feel like a weight has been lifted off of me, and I see the reality, and I see how I was showing up in those relationships as well that kept them dysfunctional. Because it does take 2 people in that relationship, whether it was with my aunt, my uncle, my grandpa, my mom, and how I showed up, how I dealt with my own feelings, how I was able to take care of myself and take responsibility for myself instead of waiting for them to change. How I was able to communicate and be honest and open, or really release my desire to control the situation or to caretake them and then be upset after that they weren't getting better or they weren't taking my advice or that their patterns were just repeating and it was hard for me to watch that happen. I got to a point where so much of my healing, especially as a former codependent daughter, was about letting go of my expectation of change, letting go of my vision of that person. This was particularly my mom because I was her caretaker for many years, financially, emotionally, health, like so many things. And I noticed that when I let go of my image of who my mom should be, of who my uncle should be, who my aunt should be, who my grandpa should be. When I let go of my image of these people and I actually just started waking up to the reality of their behavior, of their patterns, of what I could realistically expect to continue happening, instead of continuing with a delusion of the hope for change, focused on their potential. And ultimately, it wasn't even that loving. I thought I was being so loving and so giving and so generous. And in many ways I was. But in this respect, not accepting the other person as is not that loving. Having that expectation that they change so that I'm comfortable, so that I can spend more enjoyable time with them when they don't want to change, or when they're just not ready to change, even if they want to change. That is a dysfunction in those relationships. And I think that there's a time and place for almost everything, and that sometimes the exact same thing is the right thing and the perfect thing, and that exact same thing at other times in other contexts will be the worst thing you could do. It will not be appropriate, it will not be helpful. Now, some people do not recommend black and white thinking. It can be a red flag that you're operating from a trauma response or an inner child or an ego. And I've certainly seen that to be the case, okay? When you're doing like all or nothing kind of thinking, like, oh, this always happens, or this never happens, or it never is going to happen. But I do actually think that it's helpful and necessary sometimes. Like I said, there's a time and place for almost everything. And actually, this was a big game changer for me as I was going through my healing journey through healing the mother wound. I completely gave up hope that my mom was going to change. I had to. My brain was so fixated on this perfect eventuality that my mom and I were going to have a different relationship. We were going to have a different bond. We'd be able to communicate better. And she would get well. She would be more self-sufficient. I had this dream image of my mom and our relationship. And I remember listening to this audiobook where the author said, you must completely let go of the idea that they're going to change. And my heart sunk in that moment, because I thought, if that's true, then I'm never getting that relationship with my mom. All of the hope, all of the years invested, all the energy, all of the one day I want my kids to hang out with my mom and it's going to be healthy, and one day I want my partner to hang out with my mom and she's really going to like him and they're going to get along and all this stuff. I wanted all these things so badly. Like, I was holding on so tightly that nothing could flow. Nothing could actually happen and move forward. And when I accepted my mom is never going to change. Of course, I did not know this. I could not say for a fact that she was never going to change. That black and white thinking was black and white thinking. It didn't mean that it was true. But it meant, at the time, everything to me. Because I had to have a totally different mindset than the one that was keeping me in that feeling of stuckness, in that loop of hope, disappointment, hope, disappointment, hope, disappointment. And me actually saying and repeating to myself and drilling this in and gaining that mental skill of choosing how I see things. Choosing to see, hey, Lori, your mom is not ever going to become the person you want her to be. She's not ever going to change. That relationship is not going to happen. And in reality, that, for once, started setting me free from my patterns. It's like, would you go to the store if you knew it was closed? No. Not unless you wanted to sit out front and just look at it. But if you wanted to go to the store and get something and you know they're closed, you're not going to go. So similar here. I had to realize that mom's door was closed and there was no point in showing up. There's no point in going there. There's no point in even thinking about, oh, I wonder if it's going to be open. I know the schedule. I already know. What ended up happening over a few years of now having quite a bit of space, much less frequent contacts. Like, we contact each other on holidays and birthdays and we have a nice phone call. But now it's actually a nice phone call. Whereas before I was like anxious and not looking forward to listening to the issues, being the sponge, being the therapist for that, and not having it actually turn into, oh, my mom has had a breakthrough. Oh, my mom is doing something differently now. When you have someone who just wants to talk about what is going on, and it's years and years and years of the same thing, and you are emotionally invested in their outcome because you want a relationship with them, I mean, you know what that's like probably. Have you been your mom's therapist? Tell me, leave it in the comments. What is your dynamic like with your mom? It is so disheartening and it's exhausting. But wherever you are in your relationship with your mom, in your healing journey, if you're just getting started, if you're a few years in, if it's been decades and you're just like, what do I do? So what I want you to start doing is breaking your habit of self-sacrificing and being outwardly focused, and building the habit of enjoying yourself, of tuning into your wants and your desires, and not shaming yourself for it, not feeling guilty for it, or at the very least, not making that guilt stop you. Because something that really helped me in my healing experience was shifting my expectations of my own self and what I thought healing meant. So I used to think that healing meant I would never feel guilty again. I would feel like a great person all the time. I'd always feel like a good daughter. I would always know that I had the right decisions, that I never thought about my mom again in that trapped kind of way. But that's not actually the healing. Yes, there are things that I don't think about anymore, and there are things that don't bother me anymore, which to me feels like a miracle, but I know how much I had to do to actually make that happen. And that there were steps. There were legitimate steps I had to follow. It didn't just happen. And you can do them too. 100%. Oh my gosh. You are not stuck. I know you feel like you're stuck, but you're not stuck. I'm also just watching such a beautiful sunset over the mountains right now. So, speaking of building your happiness habit and your skill of happiness, do those little things in the day that bring you joy. They really add up. All these little moments make up your day, make up your life, and they're the things that you remember. And when you look back and you go, man, what did I do this year? Where was my fun? How did I really enjoy myself? What did I do that little bit of effort to make a big difference? It's all these little moments. Like, go somewhere if you like sunsets and watch it. Watch your program that you like. Play with your kids. Call your friend that you haven't talked to in a while. Eat your favorite meal. Do the little things that make you happy. It struck me today. I was thinking about it and I said, what were some of the most helpful things while I was healing the mother wound? What really pushed the needle for me? And for me, it was getting support, being in a network, and having step-by-step guidance. Like taking my overthinking and actually just laying it out in front of me and going, here are the steps you need to do. Because even with the steps, there's a lot I had to intuitively tap into. I had to listen to myself. I had to develop and cultivate that relationship with myself. And even after healing the mother wound, I've still been building deeper and deeper connections with myself. Things that I didn't even know were problems, or things that have been problems for longer than I can even identify. When did they start? They've just been with me. And because I've built such a foundation of self-trust and self-love, through healing the mother wound, other things in my life became more doable. It was like putting the foundation down for a house, and now I can build walls, and then I can put the roof on, and then I can decorate, and I can do all these other things that are more beautiful and enjoyable. So if you want to start fueling yourself with real joy and finding ways for it to last and not just be these like momentary things that happen and they're kind of random and sporadic and they slip through your fingers before you know it, join the waitlist for my upcoming self-love course. It will be so great to have you there because it's going to be full of a community of women. We're going to have an online resource where you can communicate with each other. You can ask questions. I'm there to answer them as well. And what I love about this self-love course, and it's different from other things that I've seen out there and that I've personally tried to DIY my way through some things, is that you get weekly one-on-one coaching calls with me in the group. So you can directly ask your questions. You can hear what other women are struggling with and how I advise them to get through that. And for me, when I was healing the mother wound and I was part of this course and this community with my mother wound coach, the group calls were incredibly valuable to me because even if I didn't have that question that week, someone else would ask a question that would actually make me go, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing that too. And then the coach would give these really insightful answers and guidance to get the ball rolling and move this person forward. And then I could benefit off that too and start healing things that I didn't realize were even that big of a problem, or I didn't have the words to put to them yet. But that question really helped and it fueled me. And getting the support and that camaraderie with other women is honestly, it's worth its weight in gold. Like, for me to have done this without a bunch of other women, oh my God, I want to cry thinking about it. I'm so grateful to the women who showed up that were so brave and honest and raw and supportive. The support, especially when you're trying to claw your way out of family dynamics and expectations that don't really seem to care how you're doing. They just want you to stay the same so that they don't have to do the work. Can we be real for a second? It's uncomfortable for them to change, just like it's uncomfortable for us to change. But you don't have to stay stuck. And there are other women who are going through this, and unfortunately, it's just the generational pattern that some of us are choosing to break. And we have the opportunity to break because there's more resources available that I understand a lot of people in previous generations didn't have. There was no healing. There was no getting out of it. So I do have compassion for that too, at the same time that I hold space for compassion for myself and compassion for other women who are struggling and don't have to keep struggling. So there were many times, more times than I could count, where I was still in such a trauma response that if I didn't have people telling me, hey, Lori, it's okay, you're doing the right thing, or like, keep going, don't stop now, it would have taken me, at the very minimum, much longer to get through the process. I still believe in myself that I would have gotten through it, but it made the journey more rich, more beautiful, and more positively memorable than if I was trying to do it myself, which is very tempting, especially as someone who's a caretaker or who grew up tiptoeing around other people's emotions and not having a space where they could talk about their own feelings, have them mirrored, have them legitimized, be walked through how do you deal with feelings. We can tend to continue to just feel like we have to soldier on, and that it's a virtue to do it ourselves, and that it's a weakness to need other people, like to actually need them to show up for us. But it's not. It's such a beautiful, necessary experience, especially women coming together and like men coming together. It's like home. You just feel like, okay, I can take off the mask. I can wipe the mascara off. I can just and slump my shoulders a bit. I can just chill. I don't have to be this person in front of all these people. It's beautiful. We need that rawness in order to heal. We need to be real in order to heal. Because if we're faking it, if we're pretending we're okay, if we're pretending we have our stuff together, then we're going to keep pretending and we're not going to get there. And you deserve to get there. You deserve to get there. You deserve to enjoy that resting place. And then you deserve to continue on from that beautiful, new, abundant, free life that you have. That inner freedom of thoughts, of emotion, and of really owning that this is your life and you get to live it. And if other people don't like that, they don't have to. They really don't. They don't have to like what you're doing for you to like what you're doing and for you to do what you're doing. They don't have to. And I swear to you, there was a time where I did not believe that and I did not feel that. And if I heard people saying it, I'd be like, how nice for you, but I don't know what the hell that's like. But now I do. I think that it really takes that community support in collaboration with your own doing, your own growth, your own showing up for yourself, your own ideas as well. Because you could do this better than I did, and I hope you do. I hope you bring insights into the group, if you choose to do that route, that then make their healing even better, that accelerate their experience, and they do that for you. And then we can actually get over our egos of needing to be somebody. Like, even as I come to you as a coach, I have to keep this ego that is very promoted in this economic structure. I have to keep that ego in check and say, no, there's always going to be a better way for this to work. There's always going to be a better way to help people. And we can evolve that and we can do that together. So I'm here to help share my experiences with you, to help share all the insights that I've garnered over a decade of my own personal healing, of getting over the mother wound, of witnessing other women and seeing the difference between those who pushed through it and those who stayed stuck for years and years and years in a cycle of feeling like they were moving forward, but they weren't. Or it was very, very small change for the amount of effort they were putting in. So I'm here for you. Again, if you want to get on that wait list, do it now. Click the link in the description box below. Let's do this together. Let's actually move you forward this year. Because before you know it, it's going to be 2027. And maybe you're even watching this video in 2027 and you're going, oh my gosh, I missed a challenge. But maybe there's something else, that I'm doing at that point. I really want the best for you. And I know that at least part of you wants that too. So let's grow that part of you. Do one nice thing for yourself today, just for you. Just for you. Start cultivating that happiness habit, Because remember, happiness is a skill. Happiness is a skill. It's a skill. So build that skill. And let's do it together too. Click the link below to join that waitlist. I'm Lori Desjardins. Keep healing and keep feeling, because you matter and life gets better from here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next Healing with Lori.